you all on board. It's other time with Coach Ayo, the enthusiastic people. And in today's tutorial, it happens to be the continuation of the course. Just a moment. Let me turn on the backup. I don't know if it's just here, but it's a general problem. The service provider has been very, very terrible. Network has been very terrible too. I don't know if it's just here, it's a general thing. Okay. I think we are back online again. I welcome each and every one of you on board. And today's tutorial, it's a continuation of our last class where we were able to dissect, where we were able to talk about communication. And after establishing what it means by communication, we are able to proceed to enabling skills. Now that we understand what communication is, the next thing to do is to proceed to enabling skills. And you might be wondering why we are talking about enabling skills moments after we finished communication. It is very important for us to consider enabling skill just after communication, because enabling skill is one of the skills you need to learn, you need to master as a student in order for you to communicate appropriately, in order for you to communicate well. Okay, so now the very first enabling skill. Now, there are several enabling skills. Okay, there are several enabling skills, but the one we are starting with today, all right, the enabling skill we are starting with is listening. All right, so we have enabling skill, and like I said, there are several of them, and we need to understand how this skill works in order for us to comprehend, in order for us to communicate appropriately. And by communicating appropriately, there are a whole lot of things that goes into it. All right. So we have several enabling skills. All right. But for the course of this class, the first enabling skill we will be considering will be listening. All right. Studying is an enabling skill. Comprehension is one of them. Note taking is one of them, just to mention but a few. All right. All right. Just to mention, but there are definitely more than this. All right. So for the course of this class, we will be starting with listening. All right. Listening as an enabling skill. Are we together? Listening as an enabling skill. So when we talk about listening, taking the definition of listening might look strange to you because listening is what we do basically every day. As a matter of fact, you are currently doing that right now, in as much as you are in this class, all right? And you can hear the sound of my voice, okay? You can hear the sound of my voice, and based on this, you are paying attention, then we can refer to you as a listener. You're listening to what I am saying. So, listening basically is one of the most important enabling skill you need to utilize. You need to understand how to use it as a student. All right. So listening is a compulsory academic skill. Listening is a compulsory academic skill. Okay, for every student. All right. And in the course of this class, we need to understand that as a student, you don't only learn, as a student, you don't only learn by reading, but also by listening. Okay. And what do you listen to? You listen to lectures, you listen to discussions, you listen to recordings, as well as other instructional material. Okay, so we have that as that. And as I mentioned, it is also a very important academic skill you need to know how to use effectively in order for you to make the best out of your academics. So now let's cut straight to it. So now that we understand that it is very important, and we have to know how to make the best of it. So what exactly is listening? Let's take a definition, all right, on what listening is exactly. Okay, so when we talk about listening, we are simply, all right, now we know what we've been able to establish that listening is important. All right. So before we talk about what listening is, let's understand who is a listener. All right. And by the time we understand who a listener is, we can talk about what listening is. Or let's put it this way: who is a, all right, and what is listening? Are we now? When we talk about who a listener is, we are simply referring to anyone who receives spoken information and understands it. Anyone who receives, all right, so we have receives what? Spoken information. Now, for those of us who might be new to Coach Ayo as a student, the way and manner which we try to take our classes are a way such that we can cover a lot, all right, of the course material, a chunk of the course material, without leaving important parts, all right, topics or units out, and still covering it up within a short period of time, as this will enable us to cover all the courses you might have registered for the semester. On a level first semester, you have a lot of courses you take, a minimum of about 8, if not 9 courses. Some even do 10, 11 courses. So we don't have all that um, plenty of time to relax over. So what we do basically is we teach in bullet points. We don't write much stories. We teach in bullet points. So you can use this little time over a lot. So a listener is said to be anyone, okay, anyone who receives spoken information. But once you receive spoken information, does not make you a listener. Because you receive spoken information does not make you a listener. What makes you a listener? All right, as in as much as the spoken information is very important, but what actually makes you a listener is when you comprehend. Okay, so what makes you an effective, what actually makes you a listener is the comprehension of the spoken information you have received. So every student is a listener because learning involves listening. Okay, so if you are listening to a spoken information and you don't understand it, it means you are not listening. You are only receiving. We can call that hearing. You are only hearing the information, but you are not listening. All right, because what makes listening effective is the power of comprehension. All right, is the power of comprehension. So as a listener, you, all right, if you have listened to spoken information and you have not learned anything, all right, obviously you are not listening. We can say you are not paying or detailed attention. So every student is a listener because listening to lectures, to your classmates, radio programs, and other instructional materials. So we know who a listener is. Okay. So what is listening? So this will be our assignment. Since we know what a listener is, all right. So what is listening? All right. What is listening? So let me give us an assignment. Assignment one. Since you know who a listener is, then understanding, then giving an explanation of what listening is shouldn't be a problem. So I'm going to give us this as our first assignment. Who is or what is listening? And I need your input on that. Please don't use AI or don't. I need your own personal input on what is listening. Okay, so let's quickly go through why we must listen. Now, if you are not sure of this answer yet, pay attention to this. Now, we need to listen because you need to understand lectures. You need to receive instructions correctly. All right. So before you can receive instructions correctly, listen. You need to communicate effectively. You need to learn new ideas. All right. Solve academics and everyday problems. Now, from the word listening, you can tell that two key important recipes are involved. When it comes to listening, you have to learn, you have to comprehend. All right. And there's no way you can learn without comprehending. So the first thing that comes first is comprehend, understand the received information. And that takes us back to communication. Remember, we said communication is not effective if you do not get back desired feedback. Let's say, for example, you sent a message, you encode a message, and the message was decoded. The content of the message was that get me coffee without cream. All right. So the message received, it was decoded, and the feedback was sent. Now the feedback that was sent was a coffee with cream, and the encoding and the process of encoding, the content of the message was get me a coffee without cream. All right. So the person actually, the second party actually received the message, but the person did not what comprehend the message. So it's a different thing for you to receive the message. It's another thing for you to comprehend it. And by comprehension, you need to pay attention. You need to pay keen attention to the information that you have received in order for you to give the correct feedback. All right. So we have that as that. Please, anyone in 100 level, everybody here is 100 level. All right. But this admin 100 level precisely, we have a group for that. You can reach out to me after the class. If there's something you need clarification on, don't hesitate to. This is a Oshi. Okay, for this is Ola. Okay, Ola 8738. If you need any assistance, don't hesitate to reach out to us. Like I just, it's not about how many groups you are in, and you need to be careful of joining too much of groups, because too much of information becomes information of nothing will be useful for you eventually. So what you need to do is to join the private class. We have a private community of students that don't joke with their class. They go to work, they miss any class, they still have access to the repository and they can learn at their pace. All the classes are recorded and well structured in the private class. If you are interested in joining, do also reach out to me. So now let's continue. It says here, now that we understand what listening is and important to communication. So why is the skill paramount, all right, to you as a student? One thing we need to pay attention to here is that listening as an enabling skill requires a functioning ear, all right? As an enabling skill requires a functioning ear. So we have functioning ear. So listening as an enabling skill require a functioning ear, a ear that actually, okay, I'm not sure I can this message clearly. Okay, so now let's take this. It says for you to exhibit listening as an enabling skill, you need a functioning ear. You need concentration. You need to think along with the speaker. You need to anticipate. You also need to relate ideas. All right. For you to use listening as an enabling skill, first thing first, you need a functioning ear. Then you need to think aloud. Think aloud. That should be aloud. Or you can refer to this as think alongside the speaker. Let's use this. Let's switch this for anticipation. Now, see this anticipation that we're talking about. For example, someone is talking or making a discussion or sending a set of information about sports or about politics. You don't expect that person to use terminologies that are used in biology to discuss you. You don't expect the person to discuss with you terminologies that are used in petrochemical engineering when the person is just simply discussing to you about art and designs. So, as anticipation, you are in a class whereby everything that is said to be discussed in that class is about how to use the library. So, you should be able to anticipate questions or topic discussion like how do you get trainings in the library? How do you navigate your way around the library? How can you borrow a book? Who is the library assistant? Who is the library? All right. How can I borrow books? When am I to return books? All right. What are the types of libraries? That means you are anticipating, you are thinking along with the speaker. Okay, so we also have concentration, focusing fully on the speaker. All right, and you need to relate ideas, connect previous ideas with current ones. Like what I did in this class before we started, I said, okay, we learned some one or two things in the previous class. I memory. Then we started with this class. So you need to connect previous ideas of what you have heard, learned, watched, listened to about that particular subject or topic. Okay, so we have that as that. Now let's quickly talk about listening and comprehending. Listening and comprehending. You know, I said it the other time. I said for you to listen, you need to comprehend. Now, what are we talking about here? Listening is incomplete without comprehension. Listening is what? Incomplete without comprehension. What does this mean? A person has truly listened only when they understand the message. A person has truly listened only when they understand the message. I mean, how well can you prove that, yes, you understand what was said if you do not comprehend? All right. So, the relationship between listening and comprehension are we listen to understand and we understand why we listen. All right. We understand why listening. That is the strong between comprehension and listening. Listen to what? To understand, which is to comprehend, and we comprehend while listening. So we have that as that. Let's take a step further. There are a list of factors, all right? There are a list of factors that can affect your comprehension even while you are listening, all right? So once you get distracted, which we refer to as poor concentration, with poor concentration, with environmental noise, with unfamiliar vocabulary. You know, I said the other time that somebody cannot be talking to you about sport and is using terminologies, vocabulary from biology or chemistry, and you'll be like, what are we talking about? The person is communicating about what he or she is saying, but the vocabulary is he or she are out of place. So that can be one of the why you might listen but not. Okay, I think it's stable now. Network is just something else today, but I think we are good to go now. All right. So now, just like I said, listening is very important for the purpose of comprehension. Listening is very important for the purpose of comprehension. So, factors that affect comprehension, all right? You know, it's not all about listening. By now, you should understand that it's not just all about listening, but it's about comprehension. And some of the factors that can affect comprehension are poor communication. Okay? Some of the factors that can affect communication, some of the factors that can affect comprehension is poor communication, I beg your pardon, concentration, environmental noise, unfamiliar vocabulary, emotional distraction, okay, and also poor listening habits. If you have a poor listening habit, you'll find it difficult, okay, to comprehend. As a student, you are encouraged to eliminate, okay, you are encouraged to eliminate these barriers. Are we together? You are encouraged to eliminate these barriers and improve your understanding. All right. So, like I said earlier, when it comes to listening, okay, when it comes, it's something we do on a day to day, all right, on a day to day activity. Now, listening is a compulsory day to day activity. Listening is a compulsory day to day activities. I beg your pardon. It's a compulsory day to day activity. So it's something you do on a regular basis. Okay? It's something you do on a regular basis. Now, what are we talking about? You need the skill of listening accurately to comprehend what is conveyed to you as information. Okay? Just like I've established earlier, without comprehension, you have not been listening. And the only way you can prove that you have been listening is comprehension, is through comprehension. So it says that you need the skill of listening accurately. Please take your time to go through this class. If there's anything you have missed, you need the skill of listening accurately. All right? And to comprehend what is conveyed to you as information. So, like I said earlier, a listener is anybody, a student, anyone who is capable of listening to anything said. Okay? So, as far as listening is concerned, listening is not limited to spoken words only. Okay? Listening is not limited to spoken words only. Please, if you're on the stream and you have not subscribed to the channel, please, we beg of you, do well to subscribe to the channel. All right, to subscribe to the channel is just basically a button you are seeing under the topic, under the title of today's class. So once you click on that subscribe, you see an arrow pointing down. Click on that arrow so it can take you to where it says all. Click on all, which is more like a notification you'll be getting anytime we post classes online or we are having a live class. And for those of us who might be interested in joining our private class community, I really encourage everyone in their 100 level first semester to start with. Like a couple of them were chatting with me today, and I had to take my time to explain to them that you guys have no idea how lucky you guys are, because the majority of students don't have access to enough legit information. You know, the problem with the students in national university is that there are a lot of groups, and these groups they care little or nothing about classes. Most of them are out there to help you do your registration, your TMA, this and that. All those things are good. And like I will always tell them, we do TMA for students too. But you know, what is the point of having 30 in your TMA? And you go into the exam hall and you're getting 7/70. Yes, it's possible. All right. All of this information, you are getting this information because you are on this channel. You have access to Coach I. Majority of students don't even know of this channel. And that's why I encourage students to share these classes so students can benefit. So majority already have this mindset of it's not now. What are they doing there? It's a very easy thing. After all, I'm not even writing for CTME or JAM. It's just my order. Trust me, the standard in now is nothing compared to any conventional university. Conventional university, they help you to pass. Yeah, they help you to fail. You have to help yourself to pass. Why? Because you have to You have to groom yourself and study alone. Do you know how difficult it is to study alone? Like you are alone. You have how difficult it is. And that's why we have a community, a private class. You don't get to study alone. I am there with you, and other students in your department level and semester, they're also there with you. So most time, once we are done with the two classes, we still have our one-on-one discussion classes either on WhatsApp or on Telegram, where you get to express yourself, pour out that which you have learned and that which you have in your notes, make inputs, suggestions, contributions, and the learning process is smooth and easy. And the easiest thing is you don't have to go anywhere. Now that it's even ready, a lot of physical classes are not holding because of bad weather. From the comfort of your room, you can join the classes, attend these classes for as long as possible. Right? And this is what happened in the private class. So for those of us who are not yet, who have not joined us yet, apart from what we do on YouTube here, free classes, this is not it actually. It's actually limited. But when you join the private class, a lot of opportunities, a lot of locked privileges are being unlocked to you. To join, just reach out to us through our official website, coachio.com. All right. Once you go to coachio.com, there's a chat button at the bottom left hand corner that says talk to Coach Ayo. When you click on that button, it takes you directly to options like WhatsApp, placing a direct phone call, X, Facebook Messenger. You have multiple options to send us a direct message. And the moment you get your message, we'll respond to you ASAP. Now, let's continue. So we'll be able to establish that everybody is capable of listening. All right. Now, and listening has gone beyond just spoken words. You know, when we say listen, limit listening to just spoken words, then what happens? What is the hope of the deaf? All right. So people who are deaf now, because they are deaf, they can also participate in listening. That's not true. So because listening is all about receiving information through spoken words, does it mean that people who don't have the capacity to hear, because you have to hear first before listening. So people who doesn't have the capacity to hear, like the deaf. So what is their lot? What is their own um what is their own option? I'm seeing about few likes. Please, if you stream and you have not liked the video, you've not liked the stream, please do well to like, smash like button. I'm seeing that we are up to about 10 of us on the stream. I'm seeing just 4 likes. Please, if you have not liked the video, please do that now. Okay, so what is the lot? All right, what happens in situations of people that are deaf? Now, listening is not limited to spoken words only. So if you are deaf, you still listen to what? Sign language. So we have is not limited to spoken words only. All right. So the deaf listen to sign language. Okay. So the deaf listens to sign language. So also, so now that we understand this, I want to also draw to your attention the major parts of listening. All right. The majors, the majors, all right, of listening. So basically, there are two majors. Basically, there are two majors. Basically, there are two majors of listening. So you listen for general or social. You listen for general or social. You're listening, all right, in general sense or in a social settings, all right, in general sense, in general or social settings. Excuse me. So you listen for specific purposes, specific purpose. Are we together? So you can listen for specific purpose and listen for general or social settings. For general purpose or in a social setting. Now, from this, you can tell that when we talk about listening for general purpose, all right, you are not basically paying detailed attention. All right, it's just like you're watching a documentary. You watch it for the fun of it, or you're watching a. All right, so for you to even be entertained, you need to listen. All right, it ends at just entertainment. You don't need information for a long time, so your attention is only grabbed for entertainment or for a short period of time. So those kind of listening are basically for general purpose or in a social setting where a friend is talking to you about an episode that occurred in his environment, in his estate, or in his neighborhood. So you have to, yeah, play along. You need to listen to what he's saying so you can either be sympathetic or empathetic. Okay. So, and when it comes to listening for specific purpose, this is where the work is. This is where academics comes in. Now, you are listening for the purpose of having a long, all right, comprehension, whereby points you'll be needing it a for a certification or for an examination. So this is the kind of listening you require as a student. Okay, so we have that as that. So one thing we need to understand here, just like I have mentioned earlier, that when it comes to effective listening, it is difficult in the midst of interruption. Effective listening is impossible, right? Listening, all right, to comprehend is also slash effective listening is possible in the midst of interruption. Now, pay attention to this. I didn't say in the midst of noise, not the material said in the midst of noise, because sometimes even the background of the environment can be very noisy and you can still listen to comprehend. There was even a time that I don't even read without listening to music. All right. But what we're talking about is not noise. We're talking about interruption. Remember what we said the other time? When you are not emotionally balanced, when you are emotionally deranged, all right, you are going through an emotional challenge, there's no way you can listen effectively, all right, because your mind is somewhere else, all right. We also said things like when you come across unfamiliar, so when vocabulary is being used, it's not as if it's a noise, but it's an interruption because where it's coming from, you don't even know how to relate. Okay, so we have that as that. I think our time, we spent enough time for today's class. Okay, so I want to stop here for today. I want to stop here for today. So before we call it a wrap, we said this, all right? We said you need the skill, all right? All right, you need a skill of listening as a student, or the ability of listening as a student to comprehend. So listening is not listening, all right, without comprehension. The purpose for listening is comprehension. Even though it's general or specific, you need to listen so you can comprehend. And I used an example of when somebody sends you an information, a spoken word message that gets me coffee without cream. You get the information, but you do not understand, you do not comprehend. So you went to get the person coffee with cream. You actually got the information and you responded, but you did not comprehend, and the communication was not followed through. The instruction was not followed through because at some point you did not actually pay detailed attention. So that's not listening. All right, that is not effective listening. So you can see that sometimes I use effective listening, I use comprehension. All right, all these um, can be switched between each other. All right, so you need the skill and the ability of listening effectively for you to comprehend as a student. All right, so you also need to think along. I think I said that at that time. You need to think along the speaker. All right, think along the speaker. We are talking about enabling skill here. So what are the things you should be expecting the instructor to say? All right, and you have been hearing me say comprehension, spoken words, verbal words, communication. All right, detailed attention, keen to detail. All right, and things like that. So you need to anticipate and think along with the speaker. So we have that as that. Now, lastly, there is what we call relationship in listening. So the ability to relate or connect what was said before, all right, with what the speaker is saying now. That is the relationship we're talking about. Like in our former class, in our class, we talked about communication. Let's go of communication because now we are talking about listening as an enabling skill. Continuation. All right, we are only here today discussing about because there was a point in time where we talked about communication, and communication now is more like a predecessor, all right, a forerunner for enabling skill, for listening as an enabling skill. Don't forget, I said listening is not just the only enabling skill you need as a student. You need studying as well. We are going to get there. You need note taking, you need note making, you need comprehension. We'll be talking about comprehension, all right? And so on and so forth. All right. So you listen to comprehend and you comprehend while listening. So as you listen, you must always be ready to comprehend. All right. Comprehension is at different level during the act of listening, and then we'll get there and we'll get there in our next class. So we can call it a wrap here for today, and in our next class we'll move to the next one. I believe you all are able to gain something into this class. Please, I give us an assignment. All right, I give us an assignment. Let me write out for those that joined late. All right, assignment one. We define who a listener is. So the assignment is define listening itself. What is listening? All right. Explain with not less than 50 words. You can do that, but not less than 50 words. So what I'm expecting from you is not just a single line of what is listening. I need a proper explanation. So thank you very much once again, everyone. I believe we are able to teach something to this class, and in few days we should be done with this course and we are moving to the next course. And I also like to use the opportunity to inform each and every one of us. Now, GST is a general course. Some of us might be public admin, business admin, marketing, accounting, political science, criminology, peace and studies, tourism, agric science, physics, chemistry, mathematics, computer science, information technology. So everybody is doing this course, all right? So if you are worried about your other courses that might not be general courses like this, don't be scared. All you need to do is to reach out to us. Let's talk. Let's make an arrangement for you. In as much as you are willing to join the private class, we can make an arrangement for you and see how we can cover and take all other courses as well. This is what we do. This is what we do full time. So you have nothing to worry about, as we are always intentional and consistent about taking your classes throughout the semester. And like I said earlier, you can check us out on Google, Coach Ayo now, NOUN. You can about us, contact, everything's there online. So you can just use that to send us a direct message, or you can just go straight to our website, coachayo.com, where you find the chat button in the bottom left hand corner. Talk to Coach Ayo. Use that to send us a direct message. I will be happy to attend to you. Do have a wonderful evening, and bye for now.